Xanadu God can use an infinite variety of arguments to solve one problem. 91. God can use an infinity of mathematical equations. Number 92. God can use an infinitely long equation. Number 93. God can find an infinity of solutions to a problem. According to Knuth, I think he pronounced it like that, he says that very often you have many possible solutions to a problem, so there are ways to analyze algorithms so that for efficiency, so this way you're able to pick which one is the best one. Even like there's a method of in mathematics I think you use a lot in linear programming that allows you to maximize a certain function and you have constraints which could be like cost or speed of a computer or something, and so that you can have optimal design. I think it's called the simplex method. 94. The Xanadu God can use the derivatives and integrals to infinite degree. 95. Well, because the derivative, you can have the first order derivative, the second order, third. And the first order is just the slope. And also integral, you can have first order, you can have a double integral, triple. First, the order derivative is just the area. There are inverse operations. Well, don't confuse integrals and integral equations. 95. The Xanadu God can use infinitesimal magnitude. 96. You can use God can use infinite sets such as arrays, lists, matrices, and tensors. You have scalars which have just magnitude. Vectors have a magnitude and direction. Matrices have like a set of vectors, and tensors really have scalars, direction, and also a law of transformation from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. Coordinate system was like first one was done by Descartes for a unified geometry of Euclid with algebra. Of algorithmy or something. Now you have non-Euclidean geometry also. 97. The Xanadu God can use geometry with infinite dimensions. Okay. Infinite dimensions. Okay. Well, usually they say our space is four-dimensional. You have three-dimensional space and one-dimensional time. Now you have even superstring theory. They said we have 10 dimensions. Okay, I thought that was already wrong. But I didn't study superstring theory that much really yet, but didn't have time. But then afterward came Ed Witten, a very brilliant mathematician. He got the Fields Medal in mathematics. And he unified all the 5 string theories into one. Now he has 11 dimensions. Actually, I found out the Fields Medal is given by the trustees in University of Toronto here in Canada because it's a Canadian guy who actually created the prize. But I think it's a misunderstanding because Einstein's theory, I think it's actually really, it's not that you have, it's only perception. That's why because in relativity theory, I think you can have distortions of perceptions in 3 dimensions for each dimension. So that's why when you perceive your perception relative to someone else, I think you end up with 11 dimensions. That's all. It's just perception. Really, it's still 4-dimensional space-time. Also, on top of it, what is a dimension? 4-dimensional space-time just means that these are orthogonal to each other, 3-dimensional space and time. In other words, 90 degrees to each other, or in other words, they're independent of linearly independent of each other. So that you need all of them. If you want to describe anything in that field, you need to use all these different directions and combine them together to describe anything in between. You have Minkowski space-time. He added the imaginary number, or the square root of -1, as one dimension for time. At first, even imaginary numbers were rejected. Finally they accepted it. It helps solve many problems. Another mistake they did. But so anyway, so a dimension just means that there are linear independence. Like space, like if you look at a box, you can describe anything in the box if you go length, width, and height. Because these are 90 degrees to each other. That's part of algebra, but these are vectors, independent vectors. Tensors are the same thing except, but although Einstein said that a tensor actually gives you the position of an object plus the distribution of the object, because according to Einstein, because before in physics they used to describe an object more or less by a point, although like the center of mass maybe, or in charges maybe it's a bit different. Maybe you should use center of negative charge, maybe center of positive charge. But for Einstein relativity theory, the surface changed also, because in terms of space and time. So you couldn't describe the surface as a point, because it moves or accelerates. You use the tensor, which described its distribution also, so that even the surface can contract or expand as it moves. So they need a tensor for that. Number 98. The Xanadu God can use multimedia geometry. Well, a long time ago, geometry was just lines and surfaces. Now you can have sounds and pictures. And Number 99. God uses arguments of the right length and complexity, but he is efficient. 100. The Xanadu God only uses correct axioms. 101. God only uses correct methods. 102. God uses only the right methods applied to the right premises in the right way and at the right time and place. 103. God never misunderstands the problems which would result to a wrong solution. 104. God knows premises and methods to an intuitive level far beyond the greatest human geniuses, and beyond Aristotle, Maimonides, Kant, Einstein, etc. 105. God's reasoning is the same as human reasoning when simple problems are considered and the person is careful to avoid error. The arithmetic equation 2 + 2 = 4 for man and God is correct if both of them use base 10 arithmetic. Number 106. God can do mathematics using complex numbers and variables, that is, using numbers with real and imaginary parts. Imaginary numbers involve the square root of negative numbers. You have to be careful though with negative numbers. When you have the square root of -1, all it could mean is that the object went, even I don't know if Einstein got it wrong in relativity. When you have the square root, when you have the negative number, it could mean only that the object changed direction now and is going the other way. So that's why you get the square root of -1. They replace the square root of -1 by I because it gets you get confusing sometimes. So I squared is equal to -1. 107. God can solve problems with multiple goals and multiple constraints. 108. God constantly adapts his plans to changes in the real world. 109. Okay. I think also in artificial intelligence, afterwards we studied that, but later I think they introduced artificial intelligence. Not you don't just generate plans, you generate conditional plans, so that a plan is executed only if the conditions that it presupposes are satisfied. 109. God inspires awe in the greatest human beings. 110. God created man in His own image. 111. God is holy. It is one of His names, His holiness, quote unquote. 112. God forgives us for our sins, since some of